psychology, excuse me, end quote, went on record with this dramatic announcement. Academic subjects are of little value, end quote. One can link the decline in literacy and critical or independent thinking with the way reading is taught. The education system switched from traditional alphabet or phonics to the whole word method when it was introduced in the 1920s, about the same time financial trusts began their funding. By the 1940s, virtually every public school was teaching children how to read by this new method. Whole word reading depends heavily on repetition of words. Eubank describes this in her book, Credential to Destroy, phonetically information. A phonetically fluent reader has unrestrained access to information. A sight reader does not. Language is a tool of logical and analytical thought. Sight reading keeps that toolbox both relatively empty and filled only with the word tools someone has deliberately placed there. One reading method makes a person resistant to the herd instinct and more able to recognize propaganda and other forms of manipulation. Whole word sight reading makes a person fair game for deliberate plays to emotion and more likely to feel than think through rationally, end quote. Bloomingfield describes the new concept as serial memory. Austrian economics Murray Rothbard writes, quote, therefore, techniques of inculcating reverence for despotism and other types of thought control are bound to emerge. Instead of spontaneity, diversity, and independent men, there would emerge a race of passive, sheep-like followers of the state, end quote. The result? The decline of literacy and an intentionally developed financial matrix. If freedom is to be preserved, the decline of literacy must be reversed. Nothing has changed since the first documented word freedom, found on a clay tablet in Lagish, Samaria, that was associated with the spread of the printed word. The future be business as usual if freedom is to flourish. We need a literary revolution to create a revival of thought. Moron reading is not an option. We need to awaken our imaginations to stimulate entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity. What book could you describe that stimulated your thoughts the most over the last year? That book might just be the inspiration someone feels that will free up their imagination and creativity and will influence the spread of the written word. It's time to pass on the torch of freedom. God bless, George Gazzardo. So you can check that out on Twitter. Everyone is Called to Leadership by George Gazzardo. He's one of the founders of this Life Leadership. And, you can check that out on Twitter. Let's see. I got that from at Life Leadership. More on reading on more literacy by George Gazzardo. Hashtag TLYAWBUFF.LY/2XHD7PD. And you can see a chart there that kind of describes from where we started from 1950s all the way to 2010. So my thing is this. Are you reading, listening, and association to gather thoughts of other people, or are you going to go independently and research for yourself what the information that you just got? Freedumb, D-U-M-B people, take thoughts of others and form it into their own accusations against the information that they just saw. Freedom people think independently. Just like I said, I seen that comment on YouTube that just totally describes how people think independently versus how people think interdependently. I read a lot of books, but I always go and check the resources that I have to make sure that it's accurate and apply what's important. Because like I said in another show, you gotta look at what you're seeing and use discernment. Because a lot of people throw a lot of information at you on a daily basis. It comes down to this. Are you going to believe everything that you hear is the truth? Or are you going to use your own brain to figure out what's true and what's not? The inkling in your soul should tell you, hey, something about this ain't right. I need to go, further research it. Or, something about this is interesting, but I'm going to look it up. That's the stuff that you need to do instead of tearing down and no resources at all to go by what you said. I mean, the comment was just simply ridiculous. People's tax dollars are used on this, but how many tax dollars are used on dumb stuff and you go right along with it? It doesn't profit you. It doesn't better your family. It doesn't better your community. But in turn, somebody that's known or high in the ranks or whatever, the first thing you want to do is attack. And you have no clue. And based on the comment that was made, where's your resources to say that what you said was true? Did you actually go see this person in person? Have you met this person? Have you sat down and have a conversation with this person? And it all goes back to personal development. What are you saying to yourself that made you come to that conclusion with that comment? And it's on YouTube, so everybody saw it, thumbs down, but like I said, you gotta get some gut to do the right thing. That's one thing he said in his video, it doesn't matter what other people think or say or do. Back to that attitude piece. It's all about how you determine what's best for you. You can't sit around and keep thinking that the president of the United States is going to change all the problems in this world. It starts with you, the people. What are you going to do? Are you going to raise your kids right? Are you going to teach them the right things? Is leadership taught in your house? Like I was telling my son this morning, he said, I don't like wearing uniforms. It's the same outfit every day or whatever. But I'm like, professionals wear uniforms. That's what professionals do. You're going to school to learn how to be a professional. You're not going to school to be in fashion. You're not going to fashion school. You're going to education facility. And what kids have to understand is that it's not about making friends. It's not about dressing well. And it's part of, being groomed and things like that. But what's behind all of that, fancy clothing? What's behind all of that, perfect haircut, weave all down your back? Do you have a brain? Do you think for yourself? Or do you go to the TV and say, okay, I'm going to watch this person. This person is telling the truth. Like I said in other shows, some of the news is accurate. Some of it's not. Or are you just watching the epidemic go by and you're doing nothing about it, but you always got something to complain about? Freedom is about freeing your mind and open it up to the possibility of thinking independently. That's why I mentioned books like Magic of Thinking Big. Even to buy the book took independent thinking. Launching a leadership revolution. I did a show on that. Launching a boss team revolution. I come to the point in my life where letting other people think for me did not get me anywhere in life. It only stagnated my growth, and misery loves company, because people I used to hang around were sad every day. I looked on Instagram yesterday, and this person, that I knew is sitting in the dark listening to the radio. When am I going to see posts with people with books in their hand and people trying to better themselves instead of blaming everybody else for their excuses and their misfortunes? That's why I did a show on 15 things that rich people do that poor people don't. And when I was watching that video this morning, I did not see him make an excuse. I did not see him pointing the finger. And I did not see him blaming others for their misfortunes. Do you even know how hard it was to come up in the ranks and actually do that? Even though, he's a spokesman for the All Grace Outreach. And he's also a police officer, an investigator, and he's done his thing, and he's got a long list of things that he's accomplished. We shouldn't hate on that. We should try to learn from him. Whether he's an evil person or not, it's something you can gain positive out of every situation. So with that, I'm just going to say, if you're not thinking on your own, who's thinking for you? So, with that, quote for the day. Chris Brady at Rascal Tweet says, one measure of character is the ability to bounce back with vigor after defeat. Leadership Tip says, the man who said he never had a chance never took one. The Coming of Ministry says, at Pastor McGardle, for we live by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. That's independent thinking right there in the Word of God. Read that. Chris Brady also says at Rascal Treats, leaders don't have to know all the answers, but knowing some of the questions is a good start. Leadership Tips also says, great works are performed not by strength, but perseverance. Dr. Samuel Johnson. And finally, Bible Time at Bible Time says that Karen Whitaker retweeted, Jesus died for you, knowing you might never love him back. That is true love. I got 14.4K on that one. Awesome. So I was wondering if this person on YouTube had a defeat in life and his way of coming back was to be negative. But have you measured the character or the ability to bounce back? Some people don't even know that they have ability to push forward. They've tried everything they could try, and it's getting harder because, like I read in that article, it's the lack of literacy in your life. What are you reading? What are you paying attention to? Is it making your life any better? I had to come to grips with that. I'm reading these romance novels, magazines, newspapers, My thing was, I'd rather be the person that's giving the information out and helping others see that their brain is just as powerful as anybody other brain, and it's how you use it that determines the results. Have you ever took a chance? If you feel that this person is bogus and they're a scam artist and all the rest of that, get on YouTube yourself and try to make a difference. What are you doing to make a difference? Are you a scam artist? Are you trying to manipulate people? I'm telling you, man, that's why I did the narcissism piece, and I'm not done with it because my next show is going to be about Narc Boss. They never take responsibility for their own actions. They always blame somebody else, and they always blame the person that's closest to them, and that's you. So figure it out, guys. We live by what we believe in, not what we see. We believe in stuff that hasn't come yet. That's what faith is. And even though you might not love the Lord back, he died for you anyway. Taking a chance. How many chances have you taken in life? How many times have you worked really, really hard at something and stuck with it instead of quitting and running away, complaining and running away.